cavalry's here.
Heads up!
Let's go!
Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today I want to take another look at Contra Operation Galuga. Now this is a game that was first announced in the September Nintendo Direct. Now that Direct was actually packed with some great game announcements, but one that definitely stood out for me was the announcement finally of a brand new Contra game. Well, guess what? This week we got a brand new trailer drop, and I'm even more hyped than I was from that Nintendo Direct. And we now have a ton more information on the game, but not only that, we've got a clearer release window than we did back in the Direct, which just ended with the words coming soon. So now let's dive in and look at everything we've learned about the game so far and why I'm so hyped for it. Just remember, if you are liking the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Now I want to start by touching upon something that we actually talked about the first time we looked at this game, and that is the fact that the developing duties are going to be handled by WayForward, a company that generally does a super good job with bringing retro properties up to today's standards. They've done great work on the Shantae series and River City Girls, just to name a couple. But actually diving deeper in, I even found out that this isn't their first time making a Contra game. They've actually made Contra 4 on the Nintendo DS. Now, I actually missed this game on the DS, and I'm currently trying to hunt down a physical copy of it, although prices are starting to go up quite a bit. But it's probably one of the highest ranked Contra games ever in the series, making me even more hyped up that they're handling the development of this brand new entry for the Nintendo Switch and modern consoles. I was really hoping for a redemption of the Contra series, and now my hopes are extremely high that this game will do it. Now let's talk about the game. Now the first thing you need to know about this game, if you didn't already pick that up from the first trailer, is that it's actually a ground-up reimagining of the original first Contra entry. And one of the main reasons they wanted to do a reimagining of the original one is to actually flesh out the whole story of the Contra series. Now, I don't think they're going to dive too deep, but they do want to build somewhat of a backstory. Now, the main goal of the new trailer they launched, however, is to actually introduce the characters you'll be able to play as. Because yes, in this entry, you won't only have a couple of playable characters. For the moment, we know about at least 6 playable characters, each with their own distinct abilities. And if they follow suit with what they did in Contra 4, there might even be some more unlockable ones. Now to start things off, we have the classic 2 characters, Bill Riser introduced as the leader of the Contra team, and if you played the original game, a lot of people just knew him as the blue guy. And alongside him, you obviously have Lance Bean, introduced as the headband hero, and for you retro gamers, most people know him as the red guy. But they also introduce us to the enigmatic agent Lucia. Now this isn't her first Contra game. She actually first appeared in Contra Shattered Soldier, and she then also reappeared as a villain in Neo Contra. But what's interesting as well is that she was actually an unlockable character in the previous game WayForward worked on in Contra 4. Next, we have a couple of original characters making their first ever appearance in this game. And first, we have the island warrior Ariana, which seems to be a native of Galuga Island. Hopefully that'll be fleshed out in the game. But we also have the heavy-duty destroyer Stanley Ironside. And this is a character I can't wait to try out. He seems to have a really interesting twist on the gameplay, which looks like he's equipped with a heavy-duty mech suit with limited flight capabilities. And lastly, they show us the cybernetic soldier Probotector. Now, if you didn't know, the Contra series in Europe was actually called Probotector, and almost all the human characters were replaced with robot characters, and the main character were these cybernetic soldiers. And once again, he was also in Contra 4 as an unlockable character. But as I said earlier, what really excites me about these multiple playable characters is that each character is supposed to have their individual abilities. And it most likely is going to add a ton of replayability to the game, and also a ton of fun for multiplayer co-op. Now, although the main goal of the new trailer was to introduce us to these new characters, that's not all we learned about the game. Because by visiting the website and looking at different interviews with the developers behind Operation Galuga, we're now able to confirm a few other really interesting points. Now, first among these extra gameplay elements is something that we can actually see in the trailer, and that is a new mechanic called the Overload. Now, these are supposed to be powerful special attacks, but what's really interesting is that they will be specific to each different weapon. Now, that really has me excited to see what exactly each weapon will be capable of and which one's going to be my favorite. Secondly, they will have weapon upgrades, and the weapon upgrades will actually be stackable, something that they also introduced in Contra 4 and really was appreciated in that game, so I'm glad they're carrying it over to this one. There is something, however, that I'm also glad is not being carried over from Contra 4, and that's the fact that in Contra 4, you could not actually see the actual end of the game if you were playing the easier difficulties. And actually playing through the whole game and all the levels was reserved to people who could play on higher difficulties. But the developers did confirm that in this game, the full game will be playable on any difficulty. And for a modern game, I think that's important to make it approachable. However, at the same time, they promise that for die-hard fans, there will be some really brutal difficulty levels. However, you won't be forced to play them just to see the end of the game. And I think that was a great choice because to make this game just more accessible is just going to attract a bigger audience. And you know what? Give even a higher chance of getting yet again another sequel. And lastly, it's been confirmed that there will be at least 2 different modes. You will have a story mode that will be playable for up to 2 players. And paired with that, there will be an arcade mode with, yes, the ability to play up to 4-player local co-op. And that is something the developers said they are finally glad they can truly deliver because they wanted to do it in their previous game Contra 4, but unfortunately the Nintendo DS just couldn't get it done. So with all this paired together, I have extreme high hopes that this game is going to be a truly great one for run-and-gun shooter fans. I mean, beyond all these gameplay elements, what we can also see from the trailer is that the visuals are great, yet at the same time somehow feel nostalgic. The gameplay looks to be fast and smooth, and the soundtrack seems to be delivering some pumping beats. Now, the last thing to talk about is that release date. And yes, we didn't get a specific release date, which I would have really loved to get, but rather than just have a coming soon, we did get a promise for early 2024. Now, does that mean in the first quarter of 2024, meaning between January and March, or does it mean in the first half? I guess we'll still have to wait and find out. But you know what? Although I still think a Switch 2 is on the very close horizon, at least we already have almost a half dozen of really solid games to look forward to in 2024. Now, by the way, we also did get another trailer for G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra last week, and I'll be talking about that in a video coming up very soon. As I said earlier, on the way out, don't forget that if you did like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future videos come out. And as usual, hope I'll see you in my next video.